So episode number 20, it's actually a monumental episode for myself because most people in the podcast usually don't make it to 20 episodes. So this is a historic episode. So thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, this is Zahid, this is Zainab, close friends of mine and also clients, and they were once first-time homebuyers. So we're going to educate you guys on one of the first-time homebuyer objectives or objections that they had, what they went through, how they resolved it, and whatever else we'll talk about later on. But I want to just kind of introduce you guys. And first question I had for you guys was, when did you guys decide that it was the right time to enter the market as first-time homebuyers?
So I have been on a journey to convert my pharmacy degree. So our aim was that once I'd finished my conversion, which unfortunately got delayed because of COVID, I would then work for like half a year so we could continue building up our savings. We were renting at the time. And once we realized that rental was taking up a lot more money than it should, and we'd built up enough savings, we thought it was about time for us to try and find our first home.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's basically similar to what Zainab said. I think for us it was at a time, like when we had enough savings, but looking at the house prices as well at that point.
Yeah.
We were noticing like things were going up in cost, and it figured like for us it would make more sense to start looking for our own place rather than just continuing to pay rent. Because at that point I think we were we were getting to like the 2-year mark of I think renting and stuff.
So you guys kind of felt like the rent that you guys were paying wasn't really going towards an equity portion of the home, but now that you have a house, whatever you're paying is going towards something at least.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And that's something that like I stress a lot to my clients and even my family, my siblings, that sometimes renting is not everyone can afford a home, but those people that can afford a home but still choose to rent because they're trying to time the market, that's what I have a problem with, because you can never time the market, right? Yeah. And the other problem is that you just never know when your landlord will come and knock on your door and say, look, I'm selling the house, or I'm moving in, you have to vacate. Whereas now you have your own home, you have that comfort level that nobody will tell me to move out. I can move out on my own terms, right? So knowing that, going way back when you first started, what were some of the biggest challenges that you would say you faced in that entire process when you first called me until the day that we got the keys?
Yeah, I think some of the challenges were that we had a certain idea and where we wanted to find the place. Yeah. That would have been more central for like a lot of things, right? Like going to mosque for us is a big thing. Zainab's work, my work, my parents, my family, Zainab's family and stuff as well. But I think we were just getting priced out at that point.
Yeah.
Which is definitely frustrating for us because it's what can you do, right? Because it's like there's only so far we can go. Even if we wanted to go above what our budget and stuff was, and still be technically okay, we were still getting priced out. So I think that was one of the biggest frustrations that we had.
Yeah.
But that's where we had to kind of pivot and rework our strategy and see, because right now we're in Milton, we're basically 4 minutes from where our condo was, in terms of 4 minutes from actually it's still on the same area and things like that. So basically, time-wise, it works out the same thing what it was before for where we were traveling and things like that.
Okay.
So that still worked out in our favor and whatnot.
Nice.
I think the other frustration was that just like when new places were coming on the market and stuff, the cost, like the cost for those and the asking price for those were getting higher and higher as it was, and that was also annoying because like for us, we had a certain idea and we were hoping it wouldn't go up that high that quickly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is what it is. So.
Yeah. Do you guys remember the process of what happened?
Yeah. So I remember that we had to basically view the property and put a bid in straight away, pretty much. Yeah. So we didn't really have a chance to put any what is it called, the
conditions.
Conditions in. we had to basically assume that it was fine. We would look at something and then a few days later the price would go up again for everything. So it was a race against time, and unfortunately that felt like the process had to be sped up a lot quicker, because it was a race against time to find something which we wouldn't be priced out of. So otherwise you'd be finding a 1-bedroom house or something, and we didn't want to go compromise that much. We wanted at least something which we could live in, but weren't completely priced out in. So we had to compromise a lot for that.
Yeah, and I think, so that was actually my next question is, what are some things you had to compromise on? But what I liked about you guys specifically was that you started off with, let's say, like a ideal home, what you want, like a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom, right? That's what everybody wants minimum.
Yeah.
But what tends to happen is that when you don't find that, people don't compromise, and then they just wait and wait and wait until they get priced out. What you guys did was the opposite. You guys said, well, to hell with a 3-bedroom, let's just get something, right? Yeah. And you didn't compromise where you had to go to a 1-bedroom, but like you said, you got a 2-bedroom, right? Which still worked in your favor, but it may not be your home forever, but now you're in the market. So what was that compromise like, and how is it right now? Do you find that it was worth it, or should you have waited for maybe the ideal house with the ideal size?
It was always going to be worth it. Eventually, like hindsight, to be on that property ladder, that's why we compromised. Because at the end of the day, if you look at how the market is going just now, it's getting harder and harder to get on the property ladder. The mortgage prices are higher. Everything is really hard to actually get it. And it was our first home. So we know this isn't our final home, but it's our starter home. And that's the compromise we made in the end. Is our ideal home? No. I mean, but it does its job. We still have the comfort there. And we're on the property ladder.
And you got your foot into the door, basically.
Exactly. I mean, like, the like the bedroom thing and the location and all that was some of the compromises we had to make. But we're thankful for 2 things: that the property still had a good amount of space, the one that we got, and it was open, like on the the main floor is open, and even the bedrooms were quite a lot, like a fair bit of space there. Which if you look at, like, even some of the 3 bedrooms we were looking at, the 2 bedrooms there were technically looking a lot bigger.
Yeah, that's true. The way they saw it, the layout and the size,
Exactly. And then the other factor was, like, the price we got was pretty awesome, right? Because like our neighbor sold their place a few months later, and it went for almost $300,000 more.
I remember that.
I think the difference
because I would update you guys every time.
I think the difference was 1 parking space. That was the only difference.
That's it.
And like the renovations and all those sort of things that people were still continuing to do and all that.
Still not worth 300,000 more.
I mean,
it's crazy someone would pay for that much.
So initially we thought we'd paid above technically what it's worth. But then a week later, it was sold for was sold for 100,000 more. So we got in the right time. Had we waited, we would have probably had to continue renting until we actually were able to afford it again.
Right. And then, did you guys ever have any buyer's remorse after you bought? And be honest, like, what was that? If you did, what was that feeling like? If you didn't, then why not?
I mean, there was a bit of remorse, but I wouldn't say it was a total buyer's remorse in the sense that, like we felt like the property was horrible or anything in that sense. Like, some of the areas that we wish we could have done things differently were probably like paying attention to some of the things in the home itself. Like we told you a lot of the issues that we found afterward, right? Which was like, firstly, like a couple of the toilets weren't working properly. The microwave and some of the appliances were left in pretty bad condition. They didn't leave the place clean. Even like some of like the railings and all that, they're quite fairly loose and all that. But I mean, like those things, like I think if we would have maybe paid attention more to it, I don't know how much it would have changed our decision. We would have maybe tried to negotiate a little bit more, if anything, or a bit more like mentally prepared and stuff for that. But I mean, like I don't think there's like major buyer's remorse or anything in that sense. Just because like looking at the factors of what we could afford, how prices were going and stuff, and even the location, it worked out well for us.
Yeah. And then for you, Zainab, like what is the best piece of advice that you would give to somebody right now who was in a similar situation as you guys, a few years ago, who is struggling to find a home? What would you tell them at this very moment?
Know your limits.
Yeah.
Know that it's more important to be on the property ladder
Yeah.
than to go for your dream home,
Right.
and make it really, really tricky for you to be able to make those payments.
Yeah.
We bought within our limits with some buffer space as
Yeah.
well, which in hindsight is probably the best thing we could have done with the
Yeah.
mortgage increases.
Yeah.
So definitely do that. But if you have a chance,
Yeah.
don't rush it.
Right.
We had to rush it not because we were of the urgency of having to move,
Yeah.
but because of the fact that the prices were constantly increasing. So the later you bought it, the more costly it would be.
Right.
So put the conditions in. I know that at
Yeah.
the time we were doing it, the advice was don't do conditions.
Yeah.
And that's the right thing, because if you put in conditions, you probably won't get the place.
Yeah.
But we did, as Zahid was saying, we had some regrets, slight regrets in that the house wasn't in the best condition as
Yeah.
it could be, because people were taking advantage of
Yeah.
the fact that
Yeah.
not desperation, but everyone wanted a house,
Right.
and it was a seller's market.
Yeah.
So know your limits. Don't outprice yourself. You have time to build that equity.
Yeah.
So get that first house and then build your equity.
That's awesome. Zahid, what about you? What's the one piece of advice you'd give to a first-time home buyer who's in the market right now?
I think just like whatever properties you're looking at, just do a thorough check on your own.
Yeah.
Just some things that we probably could have noticed ahead of time, right? Like where, just example, like going back to the toilets, for example, we could have seen that the water and stuff was flowing in one of them ahead of time. Even things like the microwave and things like that. I think just those things, like just do your due diligence, check out everything. And then the other part to that is that, just make sure you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like what are the main things that you don't want to let go of, that are there, but then also have like some of that room for flexibility and the compromises where it's like, okay, if I don't get this right now, it's fine. Or, we don't really need this, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And if you don't find like your dream home at the first go, like, don't let that get you down, right? Like, pivot and rework your strategy to smaller, like a shorter term strategy, and then build towards a longer term strategy as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think both of you kind of hit the nail on the head where, knowing your budget is important, right? And not rushing it. Obviously, in your case, we had to kind of move fast because of the market. It was so fast paced. But I think even in that fast paced market, it was fast paced, but you were very methodical. We didn't just go for any property that we saw. We were, okay, this is the type of property we like. Okay, we have to compromise on 2-bedroom, but now let's go full force and try to get it, right? And I think knowing your limits or budget-wise, that's really important because, like with the interest rates going up right now, anybody who over-leveraged themselves without keeping that buffer, like you said, is going to struggle, right? And I mean, I'm a big advocate for financial literacy. I think you should always have enough money for savings and also to pay your mortgage. You never want to be paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. But I think unfortunately, with the way the market is going right now, I think most people are going to be in that situation. So I'm glad you guys bought when you guys bought, because if you hadn't, I don't know where we would be right now, right? It would be even tougher. Yeah. But nonetheless, I think what's happening now is that more and more people are actually buying outside of Milton, maybe Guelph, maybe Kitchener-Waterloo. Yeah. So it's taking people outside for affordability, right? Do you guys see that often where people are now struggling to buy, but they can't buy in the GTA or?
Yeah, I mean, like some of the people that I've talked to in general, like they've started looking outside of the GTA area and stuff, because now Milton as well, like when we bought it, I think we were still in a good price range and stuff like that, and even like taxes and like insurance and those sort of things, it was a lot cheaper there compared to like Brampton, Mississauga. Yeah. But now that people are we're getting into Milton itself, and a lot of the construction work is going on there and how the city itself is growing, it's,
Yeah.
it's becoming more expensive there too.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are now trying to move out of the GTA more into like the GTHA, like the Hamilton
The
area,
GT, yeah.
further out from there
I
as well.
kind of consider that to be
Yeah.
part of GT now.
Yeah,
anyways.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like getting outside of those
Yeah.
those areas and stuff, I think,
Yeah.
just for more affordability and whatnot.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking to like colleagues or family members that you know, like what do you kind of find is the biggest fear that they might have when they talk about the market right now? What are you noticing?
It's kind of just for first-time buyers is
Yeah.
how do we get on the market
Yeah.
and afford it? There's concern about the mortgage. How can you kind of still have the savings
Yeah.
and still kind of pay towards your actual equity and stuff like that?
Right.
So it's tricky. It's a balancing act
Yeah. No,
as
it's
well. And then obviously if you move further out, being further away from family
Family and
or
friends.
mosque and things like that.
Yeah.
So
true. Yeah. So how many years has it been now for you guys?
We bought it in May 2021, so
20
about
years,
a little bit over 2 years now.
2 years now. Okay. In 2 years, I'm sure you've paid some equity down, obviously,
Yeah.
right? And we hopefully in the next few years you can pay more down. Then now you guys are in the market. You know, your next upgrade will be something where you can maybe move into maybe not your dream house yet, but a ladder up, like you said, right? So that's the goal. Any other advice, or is that pretty much it for first-time home buyers? Anything else you wanted to add, or?
I think that's pretty much
Yeah.
it for us. Yeah.
Okay.
you learn as you go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
Like we've learned, okay, next time we can't compromise on car parking space
Yeah.
and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's always a learning curve for that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think as well, like just seeking out advice and experience from others would also help out.
Yeah.
Like just not even for like house buying, but just other things too, right? Like house insurance, like
Yeah.
setting up all the bills and those sort of things, right?
Right.
I think those things go a long way as well. And I don't know how much people know about that or factor that
Yeah.
in as well. But that's definitely like, it's different when you're at your parents' home or when you're living with somebody
Yeah,
else and they're
exactly.
handling it and when you're doing it.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I think like just seeking out advice where
Yeah.
it's needed and whatnot.
Yeah.
And just doing your due diligence and things like that. Just knowing ahead of time what you need to get done and
Yeah.
whatnot. So
And I would also say, like, when we talk about budget, like for me, one thing that I stress to the clients is, okay, it's not just your mortgage that you're paying. You're also paying your home insurance,
Yeah.
your property taxes, utilities, and if you're in a condo or a condo townhome, your condominium fee as well,
Yeah.
right? And then also maybe you budget for repairs and maintenance. So people often just see mortgage, property tax, but they don't really focus on the other stuff.
yeah.
So if you are a first-time home buyer, just know that it's not just the mortgage, it's not just the property tax, it's also the insurance, it's also the utilities. Budget a buffer for repairs and maintenance because things are going to come up. Like the toilet or the
Yeah.
condition of the home, things will come up. But
Yeah.
if you have that in place,
Yeah.
then I think you can really, really, find the home that you want to live in because you'll be able to afford based on these criteria that I just mentioned to you guys.
Yeah.
So that's great. I mean, I hope you guys learned a lot from their first-time homebuyer experience. Obviously, if you have any questions, you can reach out to myself and also them to share their experiences, and I'm sure they'll be happy to inform you guys. But aside from that, want to get into some fun stuff as well. So the reason why we relate so well is because not only do we like real estate, we also like movies, and we also like sports. So Zahid and Zainab and I, we have a group, and we're always talking about something or the other, whether it's Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, or Blue Jays, or the Maple Leafs, even though, whatever, I won't get into that right now, but the Raptors, for example. But let's talk about your favorite Star Wars movie. What would be your favorite Star Wars of all the movies that have come out?
Return of Jedi.
Return of Jedi? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and why?
Just epic.
Yeah.
You can't, to see, well, spoilers, obviously, if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But obviously to see Darth Vader
Yeah.
turn into a good
Yeah.
guy-ish after everything
Yeah.
shows that anyone can have redemption.
Yeah. How about you?
For me, so the one that sticks out to me is Episode 3.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is that was the first Star Wars movie that I saw, and
Okay.
that was in the theaters as well with my brother-in-law.
Mm.
He's a big Star Wars fan, or was at one point. So like I'd heard some things about Star Wars here and there. And I heard like the name Skywalker and all that. So like just actually seeing like how Anakin becomes Darth Vader and stuff, and the standing for that kind of got me into it. And then obviously when we got married, then she got me more into Star Wars as well. So so that one I think is probably one that sticks out to me the most, just because of how it got me into Star Wars overall.
I think you got me into Marvel, and I got you into Star Wars, basically.
So you were the original Star Wars fan, basically. And you got into it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. For me, I would say episode 5, Empire Strikes Back.
That's because of I Am Your Father?
Yeah, that was epic. That's probably one of the best scenes in cinematic history, I would say. But Return of Jedi was good too. I mean, the title of that movie, I think, refers more to like Darth Vader becoming a Jedi again. So that I didn't know that before, but that was pretty cool. But aside from that, who would be your favorite character in Star Wars?
Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda? Okay.
Yes. Or
Grogu.
Or Grogu, or I guess R2D2, because he's the real hero.
He is, yeah, that's true. Yeah. I agree with you. How about you?
I mean, Grogu obviously is there too. But I would say Yoda is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
And it's actually nothing related to Star Wars as to how that happened. But where I used to work, one time I used to be a facilitator there.
Yeah. Where, Star Wars?
Huh? No. But actually, for student lending. So, so I was like a facilitator there. Yeah. And I guess like people used to call me like what quote unquote like the walking knowledge base, because I knew like student lending like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
So with training all the new folks and stuff coming in, there's one guy told me that he kind of like I reminded him of Yoda just because I had the knowledge and the wisdom and stuff. So like that kind of stuck with me. So.
Did you talk in riddles too?
I wish, but no. Yeah. So that was one reason, and then the other reason my mentor, his name is Nayu.
Yeah. Shout out to Nayu.
Yeah, shout out to Nayu. So he always used to be big on Yoda and stuff. Like he has like this whole like wall of Yodas and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's why Yoda is probably my favorite character as well.
Do or do not. There is no.
Exactly. That's the exact same thing that Nayu always used to say to me. So.
Yeah. Well, that's probably one of the most epic lines ever. But no, I mean, we were talking to the camera guy way before you guys came, and we were talking about just what kind of movies we like. And for me, it's like it's got to have a good story first of all, right? So Star Wars to me was not so much of a sci-fi movie, but it was more of like a meaningful message, right? Like you said about redemption. No matter how far you get off, you can always redeem yourself. But good versus evil, even like the whole mythology part of it with the Jedi and the Sith and everything. This is really nerd stuff, by the way. But
by the way,
these guys get it.
Even further into that is that there's no black and white. Jedi were gray for kind of saying no to love and things like that, and that then turns people over to the dark side.
The attachment, right? The lack. I mean, not to have attachment can sometimes, turn you away as well. But that's really interesting. So switching over to another movie that we like a lot is Lord of the Rings. So which one was your favorite episode of the 3?
I think just the Fellowship, because of the lightheartedness of it.
Yeah.
It was very much, the start was all based around the hobbits, Hobbiton, and it was just so lighthearted. You just grew to start loving the characters.
Yeah. How about you?
I would say probably I think the Two Towers.
Yeah.
The first one I remember watching that actually as part of a school thing.
Yeah.
So we had like walked to the theater. It wasn't that far from our high school. Yeah. And I didn't know much about Lord of the Rings at that time, so I fell asleep actually in the first movie because I felt quite bored. I mean, now I when I watch it, I understand it a lot more.
He hasn't watched the extended edition. He's still.
You haven't watched it?
Oh no, we haven't. We were looking for that, but So the first one I found a little bit boring at that time. Now I'm okay with it, but the second one I like because it had a lot more action and things like that. And then now now I can rewatch them all without any issues.
So I was the same way. When I first saw it, I hated it, actually. Even Star Wars, when I first saw it, I didn't like it at all. Because I was a kid, this is kind of boring, right? And I remember when it came out, I'm like, man, my family's watching it, and I'm like, this is not fun. I want to watch like cartoons and stuff. But I think it was a few years later when our mutual friend, Abbas Jaffrey, he was like, you got to watch Lord of the Rings. And he gave me we had DVDs back in the day. And it was Ramzan, so we were fasting. And I had my dinner. And I was like, let's give this thing a shot again. I watched all 3 episodes, extended version, that whole night,
Oh, wow.
up until morning.
Oh, so that's what you do in Ramadan.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah. So, but man, like it was like epic, right? When you watch it and you watch it for the first time and you enjoy it. And since then, it's like a tradition where like every, December holiday break, my wife and I, she's a big fan too.
Yeah.
We'll watch it. And every time you watch it, you pick up something new, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why I like to watch movies over and over again, because the ones with good stories actually have meaning. The ones without stories, I forget about them. And then I'm like, oh, I don't really want to watch it. But these movies were like, they're ingrained in your mind.
Yeah.
But who's your favorite character on
Sam, again, the true hero.
the true hero? You like the real heroes, right?
I
It's like-
really do. The ones who don't get the credit,
yeah.
but who really are the heroes. Without
The real
Sam,
stars, yeah.
nothing like the whole world would have gone.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would say like between Smeagol and Gandalf.
Smeagol.
Yeah.
Really? That's
I
kind
don't
of
know,
creepy.
it's just his like squeaky voice and his mannerisms and whatnot.
Yeah.
And, like with the process.
Yes.
But yeah, and then like Gandalf because of his wisdom and,
Yeah.
and whatnot. And like the scene, I think in the third Lord of the Rings, right? Like when he comes with the army and stuff and all that. I think that was like one of my favorite scenes. That there is.
You shall not pass.
Yeah. There's my favorite character was probably, like, I'm a sucker for the main hero, so I like Aragorn.
Yeah.
Even in Star Wars, I like Luke or Anakin. Yeah. But Aragorn to me was just, the guy was just a hero, right? So
Technically, that they sent 3 eagles. One was going to be for Smeagol or Gollum.
That's
really?
theory. I don't know if that's true.
It's got to be true.
Yeah. That's interesting. Now I can look at it from a different lens. Yeah. No, but I mean that I think the whole aspect of just good versus evil, and there was a scene in that movie where I think it was the second or third movie, I don't remember, but where the King of Rohan gave a speech before the battle, and that speech like made me want to go and fight. That's how epic it was, right? It was just so like motivating, but good storylines, good filming, good editing overall. Any other movies that you guys enjoyed?
Marvel?
Or Marvel?
Marvel, Harry Potter ones.
Harry Potter,
Yeah, Harry Potter I've watched it, but not as closely. So that's something I'll have to get into as well, along with tennis.
What I with Harry Potter one was that I can't remember which year it was, but it was like during the winter break.
Yeah.
So they were doing like a whole marathon on TV. So I watched like the first 2 or 3 on there.
Yeah.
And then the rest we had like DVDs at our work to rent out and stuff. So I got them, and then I pretty much watched all 8 movies, I think, like within a week and a week half time. So
not in one night like me.
Yeah, I can't do the whole one night. So.
Technically, it would last longer than.
It would be longer. Yeah.
But so I mean, like watching it like back to back, I think it was pretty. Like it got me to enjoy it a lot more. I think that way.
I think you didn't read the book. You haven't read the books, though, right?
I read the first one, not the rest of them.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question I'm going to ask you guys is, switching gears to our beloved Raptors. How did you feel about Fred VanVleet leaving?
It was about time.
Yeah, you think so?
I think he was very up and down.
Yeah.
I think he had a rough COVID season.
Yeah.
And then he kind of had his moments.
Yeah.
But you couldn't see him staying.
Right.
I don't think his heart was completely there to stay.
Yeah. But he went to a team that was a lot worse. So, but he got the money, so.
He got the money. He's after the money.
Yeah.
I don't think he was worth what he wants. So.
Yeah, he bet on himself. So
yeah,
I mean,
he rolled the dice again.
Yeah. So I mean, like, it was disappointing to see.
Yeah.
At the same time, like, I can understand his view of it, right? Like, because we always hear, like, we want the loyalty from players, but then there's the whole business side of it and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's looking after himself and his family, and I can fully understand and respect that.
Yeah.
At the same time, now he's no longer a Raptor, so I don't know how much longer I'll be following him
Yes.
on Instagram. But best of luck to Freddie. Hopefully he'll come back to Toronto one day, even if it's just like a one day to retire.
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
Well, I think he brought us a championship along with the rest of those guys, and you can never forget that. So whenever he comes back, I'm definitely going to cheer for him.
He'll get a huge share.
Yeah. Right. There's our Raptors championship hat from 2019. But that was an amazing episode, guys. Thanks so much for your knowledge, your information, and I hope the first-time home buyers watching will learn from this. And if you need anything else, reach out to myself or even these guys. I'd be happy to help you. Thanks so much, and see you in the next episode.